Hi there, my name's Glenn Withers. I'm one of the founders of APPI, and I'd like to take a few moments of your time today just to talk about this. This is our pre-activation statement, and we thought it important for us to put down on paper our philosophy and our thoughts in relation to some of the, let's say, possible misconceptions, possible debate around the nature of core stability, but more importantly, Pilates and core stability. So a lot of you will be familiar with the fact that there's a bit of debate in the literature about the moment around this issue of core stability and exactly what core stability is. What we would like to do is look at it from the point of view of not just core stability, but what is Pilates and its relationship to core stability and movement. And it's that last point there that I think is the really essential part of this, and that's the concept of movement. Because I think there's been a bit of a misconception about the fact that core stability on its own is linked to just two muscles being the transversus abdominis and multifidus. And core stability isn't about that. And certainly Pilates and its relationship to core stability isn't about that. And I think if you were to look at what some of the foremost thinkers in this field, such as Paul Hodges and the University of Queensland team, and also Professor McGill, you will see that they are talking, maybe different ends of the spectrum, but they are talking about this same concept, and certainly Pilates fits with that very well. So here at APPI, what we'd like to say is that really core stability is about control of movement. Okay? It's not about stiffness, it's not about preventing movement, it's about how efficiently can you control the movement. So is the amount of muscular effort relevant to the task? And essentially that's what we're talking about in our activation statement. Let's get away from thinking we have to focus just on a few muscles, and let's think about the movement quality and what we would like to call a positive movement experience for our clients. And how do we achieve that positive movement experience in the easiest possible way? Well, it's about being open to different ideas. It's not about doing the same thing for everybody. Okay? So in years past, it was more the thought process that you lay everybody down and you activate these two muscles before you move. But we know from a lot of the research, and also our friend Professor Andre Bellini, who was at our conference last year, that looked at the concept of movement flow. And that's really essential to us. So what we're asking you now to do is start exactly the same way. Cue your center, cue the posture, do those things. But for those people that just can't activate, they can't get the message from their brain to those muscles, how do we get their conscious awareness of how to stabilize and support their spine, pelvis, and hips, etc.? So you might use other forms of what's called your core. So if we take the core concept and say it's not about just a few muscles, it's about the inner muscles for sure, but it's also about the outer muscles, your rectus, your obliques, your erector spinae, and it's also about the extended muscles, the lat dorsi, your shoulder stabilizers, your hip muscles. All of that is what we would class as your core, your inner core, your outer core, and your extended core. And what we'd ask you now to do is to really think about how can you use any part of that to gain a positive movement experience. So I might get a client who is struggling to find that concept of that more traditional Pilates centering, pushing down on my shoulders, pulling down on TheraBand, or pushing down on a split pedal chair, and saying, what do you feel around your core? Are you aware of anything happening around this area? And hopefully they feel that in themselves, what that is. And then I can take them into my Pilates position and ask them to recreate that sensation of what they felt and where that support was coming from. And by doing that, I'm allowing the client to create that movement control and that movement quality. And then as teachers, we will focus on the movement. How do I cue through verbal cueing, through visual imagery, through tactile feedback, and allow my client to get the movement quality? Okay, not being really still, but encouraging control of movement in the most efficient way possible. And that's the other thing, that why Pilates works so well, and certainly what we would hope the APPI method, because I don't need the same muscular effort to do a very small knee fold or knee lift as I do to do a plank or a side bend or a side twist. Just like in life, I don't need the same muscular effort to sit in a chair as I do to pick up 100 kilos off the floor. So we need to make sure that the level of the muscle activity is relevant to the task, We need to make sure that we have multiple exercises that challenge us in different ways, different positions, different movements. And we do need to work at lower levels, but we do need to work at very, very high levels and get that stiffness and bracing support when the level of the load is much higher. So in essence, here at APPI, we're trying to get the concept of core stability is not just about individual muscle activation, but about the whole system. And through your Pilates exercises, how do you, as the clinician and as the teacher, optimize the positive movement experience for your client? And you'll do that through all the different teaching cues that you'll learn in the courses. So I hope that's a little insight into the pre-activation statement. You can read the activation statement itself, and of course, those of you that are going through our training, this is something that will update you on all the time. I'll speak to you soon.